started.
Thanks, Josh. Hello, everybody. Buenos dias to old friends and new friends as well. I am here in Phoenix. I know we've got some friends across the valley here, and we look forward to having you join us for this extraordinary food and wine tour of northern Spain. If you have enjoyed Spanish wines or Spanish food in the past, you are really going to be excited. Some of the adventures that we've got planned, I know that we're going to be enjoying some extraordinary experiences. So I look forward to all of you joining us in April. So back to you, Josh.
All right. Thanks, Larry. My name is Josh Karachi, and I'm joined here by Morgan Schneider. We represent EF Go Ahead Tour. So we are the company that is helping and partnering with Chef Larry to facilitate today's tour. And double bonus, while I'm usually doing most of the presenting during the slides of where we're going, I'm going to do a lot more kicking it over to Morgan because she was actually lucky enough to have done this exact tour this past September, and of course can speak to it from direct experience, which I think will be beneficial from the group to hear. But so today, as Larry mentioned, we're going to be rolling out for the first time ever the inaugural. Well, I guess it's not really your inaugural tour because Chef Larry has traveled with Ollie members in the past, but the first time kind of just to his students specific tour. But Food and Wine of Northern Spain with Chef Larry Canepa, and it's traveling next April 16th to the 26th, 2027.
Wow.
So when thinking a quick breakdown of what the meeting will cover, we'll do a background if you've never, I know we've got some folks who have traveled with Chef Larry in the past, so welcome. Great to have you back. But also if this is your first time considering, I want to give you a little background about EF, which is the company putting on the tour. Of course, tour highlights, itineraries, and the options and how things work on a go-ahead trip if it's your first time. Of course, tour pricing and discounts, and then at the end, plenty of time for questions. So I do know we've got the chat function enabled here. So if you have a question that pops into your mind throughout the presentation, feel free to toss it in the chat. The only thing that we ask is that we just hold out till the end of the meeting for us to review those questions together, which shouldn't take too long. All right, before we hop into the presentation itself, a quick little video from Go Ahead about getting us excited for getting on the road.
This is Go Ahead Tours. Out here with us, it's your tour. So go ahead, be the dancer, the diver, the chef, be the explorer, winemaker, or historian. With Go Ahead Tours, you can be you. Come join us. Masterfully crafted trips, expert tour directors, unforgettable experiences. EF Go Ahead Tours, now booking.
Well, those presentations or those quick little videos are always designed, of course, to give you a very sneak peek of what life looks like on tour. But the concept I always say I want my travelers to take away is that when you're traveling with Go Ahead, it should be fun and it should be easy. It's fun because, of course, you're able to engage with other fellow foodies and on a unique trip like this. And we'll talk a little bit here in another slide about why exactly or what exactly Go Ahead does to make it easy as well. But if this is your first time considering or coming across EF, EF is our parent company, stands for Education First. I always make sure to clarify that Morgan and I were not travel agents, where we work for an educational travel company. So when you look at the way that this trip was designed, of course, not only are we going to be able to facilitate the basic logistics of travel, we have carefully crafted the itinerary that we're rolling out today with the help of Chef Larry, but also with education in mind. So whenever you're doing one of our tours, if it is themed like food and wine, know that we always want you to come back a little more learned than when you departed, which is why I think we pair so well with great educators like Larry. But if the other thing about Go Ahead is we are, again, the world's largest educational travel company. And if you look at this map here, all those little blue dots are places that we have physical offices and employees with multiple offices in Spain. Reason we show this slide is because we want you to know that when you're traveling with us, you truly have the protection of a global company behind you. Love to always tell the fact that I've never needed anybody in any of those offices, but I sure as heck I'm happy they're there versus not having them there. And we'll talk a little bit more about how that entire global team supports you prior to the tour, while you're on tour, and of course when you come back home. In addition to the travel department, we started as a language learning school, so some of those blue dots are still our language campuses across the world. We've got a cultural exchange program that allows international students to come live with host families in the States. We are also an accredited academic institution. The Holt School has campuses in Boston, London, and Dubai. But I think most people do know us for our travel component. Again, very proud to be the world's largest educational travel company. All right. Whenever I do a food and wine tour, it's very easy for me to answer this question. Why does travel matter? My goal in life is to eat my way across the globe, all 7 continents. I've got 5 of the 7 down. We're making our way. But point being is there's no wrong answer to this question. I think when you are motivated by food travel, I think you and I can easily relate. Again, I've known Larry for a couple of years now. I think we, again, get sidetracked with a lot of great conversations around food. But also, of course, we want you to know that while food is a major component of a trip like this, it's not the only piece. Again, you are going to a place like Spain, things that could motivate you to want to go to Spain. You might know some Spanish, you want to practice it. You might have Spanish heritage that you want to lean into. You might, again, want to just think about the rich, unique history. This region, specifically in Spain, of course, is bordering on, like, and we're talking about the Basque country, and we're talking about northern Spain, which is a little different, which is very different than southern Spain, which has more of like a Moorish influence from the Crusades and things like that. So I think there is no wrong answer to this question. It's just a fun thing to consider when you're going over the presentation. All right, I mentioned before when we watched that quick video, the 2 concepts I always want you to take away is it should be fun and it should be easy. The reason this slide's going to talk about why it's supposed to be easy. It is supposed to be easy because when you show up to this trip or when you book this trip, you should know that you are essentially outsourcing all of the decision-making for the most part of travel, the stuff that is fun, but also can be a little taxing, over to us. So when you sign up, you know you're really just showing up and ready to enjoy the amazing experience. When you are on the tour itself, I think besides you, the most important person on the trip is your tour director. So because this is guided group travel, I think sometimes people think, oh, well, Larry's our tour director. Larry is a participant on the tour, but the great thing is we're not putting Larry to work while he is there. He is there to enjoy and lean and share his expertise and enjoying the experience with you, whereas there will be a full-time staff member with you from the time you touch down until the time you get home that's handling all the logistics. They're checking us into our hotels. They are, when we're going out to eat, some amazing meals. Sneak peek, if you weren't aware, this built into this tour, there's a visit to a Michelin star restaurant. So these are things that your tour director is handling for you. When we're going to do wine tastings or going to cultural sites that require ticketing, they are handling all of that work. So you as the participant can literally show up and enjoy. I mentioned before that the E and EF stands for education. So in addition to your tour director, who will also, of course, be fully fluent in Spanish, know the places we're going. So always going to be there for a recommendation. So you're never alone. You never have to worry about navigating a potential new country or, a return to Spain on your own, maybe just to a new region. But on the days where we're doing local sightseeing, in addition to your tour director, we're going to integrate local guides in. So these are individuals who are not going to be with us the entire extent of the tour, but maybe just for the afternoon or for the day. And they are there because they're usually from that specific region, from that town. Sometimes an example I use on like a trip for Larry when he did his Northern Italy trip, I did a very similar trip back in 2024. One of our local guides was the owner of the truffle farm that we went to, whose family has owned it for generations and, of course, is able to speak to their experience. That is not something you're going to be able to find on an average trip. So know that we're really leaning into that level of expertise and knowledge for all of our travelers. Nobody would want to hide from the fact that this is a food and wine tour. So thinking about access to local authentic cuisine is going to be a top priority. Nobody wants to go a food and wine tour and tell you your options are chicken nuggets and fruit punch Gatorade. That's not going to be the case. So know that you will have, of course, access to some amazing food on the tour. But also if there's folks who might have food allergies or gluten intolerance or things like that, this is not going to be an issue to work around. No, that is something that's very common for a lot of our travelers. You have a section to put in health notes. And in those health notes, you can just let us know those things and we can make sure any food that's provided to you on the tour accommodates whatever you need. In addition to those great things, we talk about it being easy. So we want to make sure if it's your desire to kind of keep everything under one roof, we can absolutely do that. And what I mean is, while we do not mandate that everyone fly together, we can absolutely accommodate the request. And people are, in our case, I think people for this trip will be coming from Metro Phoenix general area, that if you want to bundle flights with your tour, we give you the ability to do that. You can do things like request upgrades if you want, a little more leg room, business class. All of those things are things that we can help accommodate. And also, when you roll it all into your order, you can pay for it over time versus having to pay for that flight up front, which a lot of people enjoy that flexibility. But of course, if you don't want to do flights with us, you don't have to. So that's why we make it optional. And last but definitely not least, thinking about the quality of the experience. We have a 4-star quality level when we talk about hotels. And what I mean by that is, sometimes there's horror stories about group travel. Oh, it was a great trip, but they stuck us in this hotel that was 45 minutes away from everything. I had to learn Spanish to get in a taxi just to go, and I didn't know how to get back. None of that's going to be the case here. We have strategically located hotels, which means that they're going to be in places that are walkable, that there's cafes, restaurants, because while there's a bunch of great things built into this tour, we also make sure there's some free time for you to recharge your batteries and kind of just maybe do some independent exploration. We make sure those hotels are at the correct quality level while also being in locations that make it easy for our guests to get around when they've got that free time. Any thoughts on any of that, Larry, before I continue on to the next slide?
I agree. In the 2 tours that I've taken, Josh, I have really been impressed with the quality. The guides are absolutely extraordinary. Their knowledge is absolutely first rate, whether it's archaeology, whether it's anthropology, sociology. They will talk about food and the locales and give you lots of great historical things that you might not even get from the very best textbooks. I think the individualized custom tours were absolutely extraordinary, and the accommodations were always first class. We enjoyed everything, and we liked the simplicity and the quality.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Larry. All right. Continuing on. Well, let's talk about our tour. So again, our tour is traveling April 16th to the 26th, 2027. So these dates are locked in. So know that if you do sign up, you can go ahead and go into your future calendar and block those dates out so people know not to double book you. This tour itself starts in Barcelona. And as you see that kind of dotted line there from Barcelona to the La Rioja countryside, we've got a built-in train ride, which I actually just got back from a different go-ahead tour to Spain where I went from Cordoba up to Madrid. Point is, the Spanish countryside is beautiful to be seen via train. Makes it a little more fun than being on a longer bus ride there, while you're able to enjoy and have a leisurely time getting from location A to location B. Then making its way up, and its final stay is in San Sebastian with a day trip to Bilbao. So one thing when you're looking at this map, if you've never seen a go-ahead map before, every place where you see a black dot with a white dot in between, so Barcelona, La Rioja, and San Sebastian, those are places we're physically going to be staying and doing overnights. That's where your hotels will be. But when you see things like Cava and Bilbao, those are indicating day trips. I just want to make sure people aren't thinking, oh my gosh, there's 5 or 6 hotels on this trip. No, there's not, just 3. We do that by design because we want to make sure people feel a little settled where they are. I think a lot of our travelers don't necessarily want to be doing one night here, one night there. We want to make sure, again, you're really experiencing and getting a lay of the land where we're staying. The trip, again, this is a private tour, private customized tour. So this is not a trip that Go Ahead runs on its public website. This is something that was designed specifically for Chef Larry students, and we'll be sending out communications after the meeting for people if they do want to do some sharing. We just ask that we kind of keep it in between family and friends because, like I said, this is not a trip that strangers are going to have access to. These are just going to be folks directly connected back to Chef Larry. All right. Also thinking about tour activity level. So all Go Ahead tours have 1 of 4 ratings: low, moderate, high, and very high. This very much is a moderate tour, just meaning that you'll have some activity built into it, but this is not something where you're going to have to worry about doing any Olympic training on the forefront to keep up with the group. I think another advantage of a private tour like this is the fact that I always want to make sure my travelers feel confident in advocating for themselves. And what I mean by that is, if you wake up one morning and we know we have guided sightseeing and you're just, my ankle's not feeling 100%. for whatever reason, I'm just not feeling up for this, this today's activities. You're not a hindrance to the group. It's very common for people to need a little extra breathing time or kind of like reset the schedule. That's why your tour director's there. We want you to feel comfortable to speak out to them. But also like with this one, like I said, I don't anticipate us running into any major issues. And I don't know, the only other thing, I guess, from the person who's actually done it, Morgan, any thoughts on the pace of this tour that anyone should be not concerned about, but just aware of?
No, I thought it was very, very approachable. Lots of time to either be out on your feet more exploring or in your free time sitting, having a cup of coffee or glass of wine. So I think moderate is very accurate.
All right, perfect. Thank you. All right. So thinking about what's included. So this is what's included. If you were to join the tour, everyone would be joining what's called the land portion of the tour. Of course, if you add flights, it would be, just an additional add-on to this. But what is included in that land portion? So as you can see, it's very heavily, again, theme related with a lot of great add-ons that a lot of our trips do not include. But things that are going to be included: 9 nights in those handpicked 4-star hotels, breakfast every day. I know for our experienced travelers, they're going to already know this, but maybe if you're considering going to a place, if you haven't been to Europe a ton, know that I always say you have to pace yourself, regardless of the food and wine tour or not, because if you're like me and you want to do a lot of sampling throughout the day and trying all the great food, you will be tempted to eat a lot at breakfast because they will give you a spread. There, you get breakfast every day included in the hotel or at the hotel. I would say make sure you've got enough to start the day, but don't worry if you to leave a little on the plate because there's going to be a lot of options when we're actually on tour. 5 additional lunches, 3 additional dinners. The lunches and dinners come with beer or wine if you partake. 3 additional wine tastings, 1 liquor tasting, 1 cider tasting, 4 additional food tastings, 2 of those interactive cooking classes. And as we were joking before people joined the tour, like Larry had asked Morgan what she's been cooking since she got back. She said her expertise is cooking on tour. But those, regardless of your level of comfortability with cooking, know that it's both fun and engaging for our most experienced cooks, and it's also very designed to be a great time for folks who maybe only are cooking on tour like Morgan. So anywhere in between, you are good to go. That train ride from from Barcelona to La Roja, 8 sightseeing tours with local guides, that expert tour director who's with you the entire tour. And of course, when we are not on the train, we will have a private bus. So it's just kind of nice to know that, we're going in April. It's going to be very comfortable weather, but if it's a little chilly to start the day and you bring a jacket, but it gets warmer by like noon. I was there at the end of April, early May this past year. A lot of people just, they were leaving their jacket on the bus. It's nice to know that it's our bus and not shared with anyone else. Also, if we're picking up souvenirs, again, for the tour like this, a lot of incentive to buy things like olive oil, wine, to want to bring back to the family and friends. It's great to know you can just leave it on the bus until we get back to the hotel. It'll always be under the guise of the bus driver. All right, I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of the places, every place that it's going. I will be kicking it back over to Morgan a ton on this one because, again, she'll be able to speak far better than I can from experience, but just kind of giving an overview. In addition to this, we will be sharing and communicating the specific website for Larry's trip. Also, the directions, if you prefer, if you're thinking about booking, we've got a whole staff of individuals who will walk through that process with you. So this is just an overview. And again, if any questions pop up at the Q&A section, I'm happy to go back and look at any days if you missed anything. So whenever traveling, of course, in this case, across the Atlantic, day 1's a travel day. So this would be boarding your overnight flight to Barcelona. I would anticipate coming from Phoenix, at least, of course, one layover. Day 2, this is when thinking about that, you're leaving mid-afternoon to evening, flying over at night, and then arriving in day 2 in the morning to early afternoon in Barcelona. We just had a big travel day, which means what is not wise to do on any day 2 of a tour is to put a whole bunch of activities, because everybody's bodies are acclimating to the new time zone, and all that goes along with international travel. which is why you see on day 2, the only activity we do as a group is come together and have our first welcome dinner. Besides that, you're meeting your tour director. He or she will talk about, expectations for how they're going to communicate with the group. There's a really great app that Go Ahead uses where, think about, there's free time built into this tour. So it's always important your tour director the day before is communicating things like, what time is breakfast tomorrow? If we have to get on the bus or we're heading out to the train, what time do we have to leave for that? If it is a transportation day, what time do our bags need to be outside the door? Because porterage is built into your order, so you don't have to worry about hauling those bags all around your hotel for you. But having an effective way to communicate is really important, so the group is always knowing what to expect on future days. Larry, any thought on your welcome dinner when you got to Italy?
It was really one of the most special. We had a chance to reconnect as students, and we had a lovely hotel there as well. The dinner was absolutely exceptional. We still talk about it. It was very, very nice to be able to relax a little bit, get our bearings, as you said, and the anticipation factor was really high on that first night. So it's something everybody enjoyed.
Wonderful, and that is the goal, to have something very similar on this trip as well. All right, continuing on. So day 3, this is now we are here, we're in Barcelona, we're rested, we're ready to start exploring the town. We want to get our student hats are on. We want to learn about, again, the history. We want to learn about the food. So you see day 3 is pretty balanced, meaning that in the morning we are going to be doing some guided sightseeing. And when we think about guided sightseeing, another misconception sometimes on guided tours is that, someone's going to have me up from 8 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. There's no time to rest. I'm going to be go, go, go. That is not how this tour is designed, or any of our tours are designed. They are designed with balance in mind. We want to make sure you are learning, you're seeing the sights, but you're also not being, run all about town with no time to enjoy what you're seeing. So guided sightseeing in the morning, it'll be fun. No more pictures of cranes. This is going to be an ancient picture by the time we get there, because, of course, if anyone's keeping up with the news, La Sagrada Familia has officially, the cross is on top of it. There's no more scaffolding. It is done. The construction is finally done after over 100 years, which is very wild to think about, but it's exciting. So again, going to be an amazing opportunity to go see it. You'll be there for, someone asked, because we launched a different trip to Spain last week. I think Morgan, correct me if I'm wrong, what is about an hour to an hour and a half you're there, or is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate. And there was a few people that wanted to spend more time in the church, and they had the opportunity to go back and, do the small staircase to the top. We don't include that for everyone because there's quite a few people that the small staircase wouldn't be their thing. But I'll add that I've been to Barcelona before. I'd been to the church before on my own. It is a very, very different experience to have a local guide and to be pointing out things that you didn't even realize you were looking at. I'd walked through it years ago and thought to myself, this is beautiful. But walking through it with the guide and having them point out all of the reasoning behind the design, point out the structure of the staircase and how it's the exact same as the shape of DNA before we even knew that's what DNA looked like, but he had seen it in nature repeated over and over again. So he incorporated it in the design. Those type of things you need to have the guide to point out. And even if you've been to Barcelona or in the church, I think it's worth a second visit.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And in addition to, of course, your sightseeing of the city, with getting back on theme, one thing that our sightseeing usually doesn't cover, but that this tour will, is you will learn about Spanish vermouth, and of course that's where the liquor tasting comes in, and also get to snack on some pinchos, which are kind of like Basque versions of tapas. Again, very unique culture / food education that's available in northern Spain, versus, again, where I just was in southern Spain. And then we take a ride outside of the city and go to the countryside to visit a winery that specializes in cava, which is Spain's version of sparkling wine. So again, learn more from the producers, be able to see on site where the wine is produced. And of course, if you're there, you might as well try a little with the built-in wine tasting for that evening as well. All right, and then day 4, our final day in Barcelona before getting on that train. So this is where we have both a cooking class and a walking tour of Barcelona. So again, nothing over the top from an activity level. And then I guess I'll kick it back over to Morgan. Any experience from this day that you want to share?
Yeah, the cooking class, you get to first go to a market that is very popular with locals and where they will go every day, every other day to get their supplies for meals that they're cooking. So you get to go there and we split into different groups and got to go shopping and then took the materials to the cooking class. And under the guidance of some experts, I always joke I'm not a chef. I don't like to cook, but I like to on go ahead trips because they're really guiding you and helping to make sure it tastes delicious.
Absolutely. And then, like I said, great time for all involved. And of course, in addition to the food, being able to have a little wine with your food if you partake. And with that, of course, being able to eat it. That's one of the included lunches on the tour. All right, so day 5 is the train ride outside. So taking yourself from Barcelona to La Rioja countryside. The reason we label it the countryside is because we have a number of vendors we work with in the general area. So depending, you'll get hotels a little bit closer to departure. But again, making sure we keep that standard. But the places we visit are not going to change. And this is in addition to the train ride, then you also have a culinary walk. Again, I'll sound repetitive. Morgan, anything from this day I want to share?
I mean, it's just so fun to compare the pinchos or the tapas from region to region. So you get to have that experience in Barcelona and then again here in Logrona region and then again in San Sebastian. And they're vastly different. So to be able to learn about where those differences come from and be experiencing these different flavors and kind of things are within the same food category of tapas, it's very fun.
And in addition, this is also going to be, of course, like one of the most famous wine producing regions in all of Spain, which is why, again, I think the beauty of a tour like this is you were just in the city and you were enjoying what the vibrant life of the vibrant times in Barcelona, and we're now pivoting out to the countryside to see again some similar themes, but of course vastly different backdrop, which I think makes trips like this even more exciting. All right, with that in mind, that's why you see on day 6 we have breakfast, wine tasting, and lunch included. We are in this specific wine producing region. We want to make sure that you can really experience it. We start with that with actually the Museum of Wine to learn the wine history in the region. So you get an audio tour there before making your way to another vineyard to again enjoy some of the unique wines of the region. And then day 7, I think 2 things to me would really, when we talk about, there's so many unique things in any day, but if you were to say, Josh, what day would you be the most excited for? I think day 7 would really stick out for 2 reasons. Again, you start your day with an olive farm visit. I, again, got to do this in a different region in Spain a couple months ago. The fact that I always share is I thought I was relatively educated on food across the board, but I was made very aware that, hey, guess what? There's no such thing as a black olive. And what I mean by that is a black olive is just a green olive that has gotten very, very ripe, which is why it's so soft and tender and the flavors change. That was one of the many things I learned on my olive oil visit. I will not run down every little fact because part of it I want everyone when they go check it out to be able to enjoy it as well. But it was very unique opportunity to learn from the individuals who are doing the production, to understand why they harvest at the time they harvest, the fact that you actually will learn a lot about being able to read olive oil labels here back in the United States and things that maybe made it sound like, oh, that's a little healthier, that's a little nicer. It's like, well, no, that's actually proof that was the bottom of the barrel olives that they scraped when it was the most. And it's like, okay, well, that's good to know. But then, of course, the idea that built in at no additional cost is the Michelin star dinner for the entire group. And again, this one I will kick it back to Morgan because I was getting pictures of her while she was
Yeah.
there. The rest of our team was as well about how great of a meal this was.
Yeah. People don't want to look at your, 25 photos of a meal as much as you want them to. But these 2 days I think about constantly. On day 6, going to that Marquise de Riscal winery. It's this gorgeous building designed by Frank Gowry. Beautiful design. Google that, the name of that winery. You'll see it immediately. The backdrop of the mountains, the vineyards, and then this very unique building with incredible wine. Um, and then that Michelin star dinner the next day, that was in this old city center, this old um, stone building. It almost felt like you were in a mini castle. And yeah, to be served 12 to 14 dishes of some of the most incredible food you've ever had. There was even a moment, they called it the bread and the butter ceremony. And I'm like, bread and butter does deserve a ceremony.
I know I'm like I said, maybe not all 25, but those were some great photos. That was
Yeah.
those updates were making everybody back here very jealous of the experience. All right, continuing on to day 8. So making our way, so this is a travel day. So you're going to be making your way up to San Sebastian by way of Bilbao. So again, we've done a couple different trips here on our team that focused on this region of Spain. And it's, again, everyone's motivation is unique. But I think even if you, regardless of, I guess, a little bit of a pivot from the food aspect, is the stop in Bilbao, where we'll actually be able to visit the other Guggenheim, the European Guggenheim, which is here, which is the picture you see there up there at the top. But after plenty of time in the museum for our art historians, for our folks that just want to understand the culture a little better, you will then meet with a local chef, where we will have our second cooking class, as Morgan mentioned, those pinchos, which are very well known for, again, regionally, those unique northern Spanish tapas. Of course, it's great to eat them, but it's also fun to learn how to make them. So having that cooking class built in, and then having some free time to spend in the old quarter before we make our way up to our eventual hotel. No better way, I think, to break up that transportation than a visit to an amazing city like this.
Yeah, and this museum is designed by the same individual that designed that winery I was just talking about. So in this photo, you can see the uniqueness of the building structure. I don't follow contemporary art that closely. So when I first went in there and you're just looking at things, you don't, it looks just like an a yellow square with an orange line through it or something like that. But this again is where it was so helpful to have the local guide to give the history and the context and the meaning behind. Ooh, thank you for how to pronounce it. um, and the meaning behind the paintings, so that if you're someone like me that doesn't know as much about contemporary art, you could still get so much out of it.
Absolutely. Again, I think that's back to the focus on education, which is why I think for our partnerships with all our educators like Larry, it's such I'm sure there's a good food pun here that I'm just missing, but a great combination. All right. Day 9. So again, we are now promptly settled up in the San Sebastian area. Food walking tour. Again, we see the same. I say we see similar themes throughout the locations. We want to make sure that we give our travelers the opportunity to explore on foot with those local guides, really get that unique culinary history, and then a balance between the city and the countryside. So after we do our food walking tour, we head on out for a sheep farm visit in the countryside to, again, learn about additional agriculture and size and how it incorporates back with Northern Spanish culinary themes altogether. Anything unique from this one, Morgan?
I mean, driving into San Sebastian for the first time, your jaws on the ground. It's absolutely beautiful. The coast, how the city's nestled in there. gorgeous. And then that sheep farm, it was very fun to, learn from someone who has been in the sheep farming industry for generations. The farm we went to, the woman, I mean, she was just the most remarkable person in the world. She had like her baby strapped to her back, and she was talking about like getting up early, being with the sheep, all that they do to make this cheese. You get to sample the cheese. Very fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the partnerships that Go Ahead has with a lot, even though it's such a big company, I think it's good to know they prioritize these meaningful relationships with small producers, because I think, like I said, those are stories. I think of that story. I think of the story like of the truffle farm, and I was in Greece, and same thing, or the olive oil producer, where that I think that extra level of connection, I think, just makes these even more memorable. All right. So sadly, not that there's anything to be too sad about with this tour, is that day 10 is our final full day on tour. So it includes a vineyard walk and, of course, a cider house dinner for our final farewell dinner, where folks come together. And again, you're going to be sharing. If you weren't already connected, there's going to be a tons of making sure you've got service so you can text each other photos or upload them to the group chat, where actually they live forever. I can still go back and reference photos from my very first Go Ahead tour back in 2023. And again, just an opportunity to share a magical experience before day 11 going and heading home. Morgan, anything from the final day?
I mean, the cider, it's so fun on this trip. You get to experience the cava, the wine of the different regions, and then the cider. Something really cool about the cider is this like unique way that they pour it from really high up so that it hits the glass in a certain way and creates this like air bubble, I think. And it's fun to watch them serve it. At our departure dinner, they had a big barrel where they would open it, and you would have to be very far away with your glass to fill it up. If you have extra time, San Sebastian is beautiful. You can always have us help you, kick your flight back a few days.
Hey, if you're there, there's no reason you can't enjoy it a little more. Larry, any thoughts from you before we can kind of start going over some more of the logistical coverage?
For those of you who Spain has not been on your radar, Spain is fairly new to the world travel scene, and certainly on the culinary scene. They went into sort of decline over places like Italy and France, but it is a land of extraordinary contrast that Josh and Morgan have talked about. You have very, very traditional, and you have very, very authentic. You also have extraordinary contemporary aspects to that as well. The wines are absolutely superior. You have these extraordinary ciders. The food is absolutely world class. Some of the finest restaurants in the world are there. A lot of chefs love the aspects of these contrasts from the Basque region to the beautiful city of Barcelona. The markets are still extraordinary. So your senses will definitely be on very, very high awareness in a trip to Spain, particularly northern Spain.
I agree. I think it's one of the ones where, of course, we've got it built in, but I think it's been a couple of years now since I've known this, but it's per capita more Michelin star restaurants than any place in the world, and these are not these extravagant, big fancy places. It's just the quality is such a focus in places like northern Spain. So, as you can see that's why we have a lot of great food, of course, built in for the group, but know that there's a lot of free evenings as well, because we know sometimes travelers will want to really prioritize a specific restaurant, and of course, like, it's great that we have the dates, because you can already look to start making, some of those take reservations 6 to 9 months in advance. So know that's fun. Other little side tasks that sometimes the group will come together and work on once the group members start to meet each other and understand who their travel buddies will be. All right, we'll kick it back over to Morgan to talk a little bit more about the brass tacks of coverage, because as fun as these trips are, we want to make sure everyone's being safe and covered as well.
Yes. So two things I'm going to go over. Both of them are optional. You could choose to add them to your reservation, travel coverage, and then the flight package. Both optional, but highly recommended from us. For the travel coverage, this trip is a lot of fun things. We don't like to think about unexpected things happening, emergencies, flight delays, needing to visit a doctor when you're there. But occasionally those things do come up, and it can be a lot more stressful when you're also worried about the cost of it or if your medical insurance covers you abroad or not. So we recommend some sort of coverage with us or independently. The go ahead one is a great option. We have two different ones you could choose from. They cover all the same things, just to different amounts, just a different max amount. So they would cover accident, sickness before the trip, on the trip, needing to visit a doctor while you're there. On this exact trip that I was on, a woman tripped and fell on the sidewalk and was worried about going to a doctor because of the cost. And she knew her medical insurance didn't cover her abroad. Um, but I looked at her reservation. She had the travel coverage. I was like, let's go. You're going to feel so much less stressed if you know it's not broken or you get the care that you need and you deserve. And so that helped relieve a lot of the stress that ended up not being broken, which was good. It also covers if the airline loses your luggage and you need to buy new clothes, or your flight's delayed and miss um, you're going to miss the first day of the tour. You can submit to recover the value of the first day. Or if your flight is canceled and you need to have a hotel room or extra meals while you wait for your rescheduled flight, airlines aren't just passing out hotel rooms like they used to. If you add the total trip protection, it's going to come with two additional things. One, pre-existing condition coverage. So if there's anything you've talked to a doctor about that could come up before the trip or during the trip, I recommend having that. And then something called any reason protection. This is really helpful when you need to cancel the trip, especially if it's last minute, when at that point cancellation costs are higher, but you need to cancel the trip for a non-insured reason. Your cat or dog becomes sick, a family member has their baby sooner than expected, you want to stay home with them. Those type of scenarios that aren't covered under insurance, but you don't want to travel, you can use the any reason protection to get the cancellation costs on a voucher for a future trip. All the other scenarios would fall under insurance, and you would submit to the insurance to get the actual funds back, the money back. And then the second thing you could choose to add to your reservation is the go ahead flight. So if you just want to think about, the pictures you're going to take, the food you're going to cook and eat, and the experiences you're going to have, you want us to take care of all the details, then I recommend adding the go ahead flight package. If you're leaving on the same date from the same airport, we'll be able to put you on the same flight. Included in the flight package is airport transfers. So there'll be someone there at the airport to greet you, take you to the first hotel. Same with at the end of the tour, San Sebastian back to Bilbao to fly out is a distance. And then a big benefit is when you add the flights to your reservation, you lock in the price. So should fuel costs skyrocket and flight costs go up, you will have locked in the price on your reservation. You wouldn't be impacted by that. And then you would also have access to our 24/7 on-tour support team. Should questions come up, if there's any sort of delay or flight cancellation, they would do their best to help you out. About 6 months prior to departure, we do reach out to everyone in the group to see if there's anyone that has any flight requests. So do you want to go early, stay later? Do you want to look into the cost of premium economy or business class? Is there only one airline you want to fly? We're able to accommodate those requests. as long as you respond back to that communication and let us know. And then our flight team will work with you, present the available itineraries, present the cost if there's one associated with it, with your request, and you can choose to accept that or not. If you're not sure if you want to use Go Ahead Flights, maybe you'll have enough credit card points or airline miles. My recommendation is to add the flights now, lock in the price, have it on your reservation, be part of the group flight request, knowing that you can remove the flight from your reservation up until the tour finalization date. So for this trip, that's January 16th. As long as you let us know before that date that you're going to purchase your own flights, we could remove them from your reservation, no penalty, no cost. We would just remove them and your total balance would be recalculated. And then what do you need to travel? You will need a valid passport. You don't need one to get signed up on the trip, but if you have one, you might as well fill out that information. Our system is smart. It checks your expiration date and makes sure that you'll have the 6 months of validity that's required on your passport to travel and come back. If you don't have a passport, you need to renew it, then I'd start that process. We don't want you to forget and then later have to pay extra to expedite it. The sooner you add your passport details, the sooner it's going to stop the automatic reminders from Go Ahead. So get that information when you get signed up over the phone or add it to your online account later. For this trip, we think that the European Union will be requiring the authorization form. They keep pushing the date back. It was supposed to be in effect already, and then they pushed it back, pushed it back, pushed it back. I think it will be in effect by this date, but we'll make sure you're very much communicated with. You know exactly what you need to do. And at the pre-departure meeting, we'll make sure everyone has either done it or has their questions answered. We expect it's going to be very similar to the United Kingdom form, where you just fill out an online form, take a picture of yourself, take a picture of your passport, submit it, get a response between 10 to 20 minutes later. It costs around $20. They're saying it's to keep track of who's coming, going for safety, probably collect a little money from tourists, but we don't anticipate it to be very difficult.
All right. Thanks, Morgan. Continuing on, want to do a quick breakdown of the options when it comes to choosing to pay. Know that nothing we cover on this slide is referencing financing or interest. This is just the way that Go Ahead can choose to chunk the overall investment in the trip into manageable pieces if that's what works better for your budget. So with that in mind, the majority of our travelers do enroll in what's called auto pay. It allows you to secure your spot for as low as $99 down. There's a 30-day risk-free window, meaning that if you change your mind inside those 30 days, including your deposit, any money you have down comes back to you. If you wait till after those 30 days, that 99 is non-refundable. It does allow you to select a day of the month that works for you as well. The only thing about the auto pay is it does need to be done using a known funding source, meaning either a checking account or a debit card. We also know plenty of people do not want to be on a monthly payment plan. They want to be in control of when those payments are made, which is why we have a manual payment as well. It does allow you to secure your spot for a little bit of a larger deposit from $99 to $450. If you are also purchasing insurance, that is due at the time of enrollment as well for the manual pay. But it does allow you to use the 2 credit cards that Go Ahead accepts, which are Visa and MasterCard. Know that you can also sign up with auto pay and then switch to manual, go back and forth. You are not locked into one, whichever one you choose at the time of putting your deposit down. We want to give you that flexibility if that's what works better for you. All right. So today, for everyone on the call, again, these are the first spots that are going to be open to any of Chef Larry's students. So know that when you join a trip like this, it is traditionally done using what's called double occupancy, just meaning going with either a partner or a roommate of some sort, 2 people to a room. So that first price you see there is before any discounts have been applied, but that is the price for double occupancy. But we also know there's plenty of folks who are saying, I can't wait to do this trip, but I do not need a roommate, which is why all trips come with a finite set number of single occupancy rooms. So know that if you want a single room, we have 4 guaranteed for the group. Doesn't mean we can't get more after those 4 are sold. And from our experience, those 4 tend to go first. They just have, if you wait till after those 4 have been secured by other people, it is a per request basis. So there is a chance that that request could be denied. But if you do secure one of those first 4, no need to put in a request. They are guaranteed. They are already set aside for us. Another thing that's great is we want to make sure we can give discounts. We always want to give an incentive for in our early enrollment period, we call it, which is why for the 2 weeks after a trip is launched, so from today until July 7th, there's $150 off per person for anyone who puts their deposit down. But if you happen to be a repeat traveler, you can stack an additional 100 on top of that for $250. And I know we do have a couple folks who are traveled with Larry back in this past April. They are on the last couple days of that welcome home credit. So I know I recognized a couple friendly faces and names here in the list. So if you were on the Ali ASU Italy trip, know that you qualify for an additional, your welcome home credit is still active. So you could actually save up to $350 if you chose to enroll inside of our discount window. This is a food and wine trip. And the reason I specify that is for the experience is group travel. Sometimes you'll hear about people doing trips where there's 50, 60 people on a trip. If that is what you like, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But for these type of trips, we limit the spots because of the fact that this is, again, Morgan explained that experience, like being able to secure reservations at a Michelin star restaurant, being able to do all these super unique things for the trip. It is much easier and I think better experience when you have a small group, which is why there are only 20 spots available for the trip. And of course, if we get demand beyond that, a wait list would begin. But there are some trips where we are able to open up sport spots. That's much more difficult for a trip like this. So while we want to give people time to make the decision that's right for them, just know that if you are excited about joining this trip, I would put that deposit down sooner than later, just because excitement for these smaller trips tend to be a tad bit more, I guess, those spots tend to move a little bit quicker. An example like Larry's last trip had a couple, it was sold out, but a couple people dropped out last minute, so it traveled at 18. But point is, like, that's the type of demand that we anticipate for this trip as well. All right, so some things you're responsible for. Prior to leaving, we will have what's called a pre-departure meeting. So no need to memorize any of the things on this slide. Just know that we will be covering this with the whole group, everyone who's traveling, around 3 weeks before we leave. Of course, assuming above adequate service is provided, making sure you're allocating between $12 and $15 per day in tips. That's not per person, that's in total. So that is split between the 3 people who are servicing your tour. You'll always have your bus driver. You'll always have your tour director. Certain days you'll have local guides. That's why not every day is the same amount that you'll be tipping. A lot of great food included on this trip, but of course, not any non-included meals, you're budgeting for that, in addition to spending money and any additional costs for overweight or extra luggage. For this trip, whether you do flights with Go Ahead or not, you can anticipate getting 1 carry-on bag, 1 check bag, 1 personal item. Anything beyond that would be something you'd work out directly with the airline. And then, as Morgan reminded us earlier, you do not need a passport to sign up, but you will need a passport to travel. So with less than a year between now and when the trip departs, I would just make sure that your passport is valid. For our case, basically to the beginning of 2028 to be safe. But again, if you need to start that process, plenty of time to do that between now and departure. All right, we are at our final slide. This is when we'll go ahead and answer any questions if people want to come off mute. I want to thank everyone for coming out. Again, I know this was a little bit last minute getting the word out for the trip. So I know Larry's going to be continuing to share the opportunity with other classes he teaches around the Metro Phoenix area. But know that if you are excited about joining, there's 3 ways to do it, and we will communicate that out with everyone with the group. You can call in with that 800 number you see right there, We've actually got staff on the phone for the next 2 hours. We do know sometimes people want to book day of, but of course, we will also be sending out this recording along with additional instructions and communication to the interested parties after the meeting as well. And then in addition to the 800 number, if we'll also send out a link that allows you to pick a time for our team to call you, or you can also check out the dedicated website specifically for the trip if you prefer to enroll online. Last but definitely not least, all enrollments between now and July 7th will at a minimum get $150 off per person and potentially qualify for additional discounts for repeat travelers and those folks who got back from Larry's Italy trip back in this past April. But with that, Larry, any thoughts before we open it up to questions?
That was a great overview, Josh, and we really covered a lot of that. And I know it can be really exciting to see all of these, and I know this adventure is going to be extraordinary. As I said before, this is a custom tour, a small tour. Those of you that have been with me before, thank you so much for dropping in. I look forward to other classes. I'm going to be sending you lots of supplemental information, but the only homework that I have for you is start practicing on your Spanish wines and your Spanish foods. I'll be sending you some really fun information to take a look at as I run into other sites, travel sites for you to take a look at. I'll share those with you, but I really look forward to your being able to join us again or for the first time. So thank you, Josh. Thank you, Morgan.
Of course. And then we had a couple questions about the price. I'm going to go back here on the slide. So just to clarify, you see that the top price is the price just for the tour, and the bottom price is the price with tour plus flights from Phoenix. And then if you want to do single occupancy, it's just this number plus the $990, which is a single occupancy cost. So just single occupancy is the 6659, and then single occupancy with flights from Phoenix through Go Ahead would be the 8287. And as we mentioned before, there's 4 guaranteed single rooms. And then beyond that, of course, we do have the ability to request them. They're just going to be per request basis. All right, let me go through and see any other questions here. We will be sending out, I'll do a quick check to make sure that we have everyone's email address, because I saw there were some folks so I will both communicate. If you use the RSVP link, I will make sure those individuals get the information, but I will also share it with Larry so he can forward it on to additional emails that he has if you didn't do the Go Ahead RSVP. We've got the link shared in here just for reference so people see what it looks like. This is what the website looks like. So if you see here, this is what, if you click here, it talks about things like activity level, the tour, making sure, of course, this is, again, because this is a private tour just for Chef Larry, that it is the one that says Northern Spain with Chef Larry Canepa, shows dates, shows things like how many travelers you have. This is with flights, but if you wanted to book your own flights, you can just click that button and the price of flights automatically drops off. One thing you'll see here is it'll only show a $75 discount. The great thing is through our partnership with Chef Larry, that's how we're able to double it to that $150. So if you do book online, know that we will be going into your order and manually adjusting that. So you'll get the, of course, the full $150 as promised. Goes over everything. If you see here where it says show full itinerary, this will give you a breakdown of the full day by day of the trip. What will also be emailed out is the PDF of this information. But if you click print itinerary right here, it will give you the ability to pull that PDF as well, but also just take a look for it in your email. So that shouldn't be a problem. And then some great resources near the bottom in terms of things like talking about sample hotels we've used in the past for this, flights, how that works, sample weather and the cities we're going to be, and general FAQs. So definitely want to be a resource both on the website. But if you prefer to just go ahead and talk through it with a member of the team, that is why we encourage folks to do that call-in method, because it's a little bit more personal.
And someone had the question about if their rooming changes. Yes, absolutely. You can initially get signed up in a private room, and then if you talk a friend into joining or a family member, then we can make that change down the road. And when they get signed up, we'd pair the two of you together, and then that private room cost would fall off of your reservation.
Yeah, thank you for that, Morgan. Great question. And then, yep, great question from Karen. And then, like we said, Larry, any specific parameters around? I know we want to encourage our potential travelers to, if they've got a friend or family member to join. I just wanted to make sure that that was specified here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell your friends, tell your colleagues. Those of you that went to Italy, you know what an amazing trip it was. And this is going to be, as I said, different in style. I think the accommodations and the planning is what we really, really appreciate. And EF has been such a great partner in this as well. So you have really, really tremendous amount of professionalism that'll help you with that. And when we finally get in country, you are just going to have such a delicious time.
Absolutely. And then I don't want to put anybody on the spot if you don't want to share, but I didn't know if there was any of our Italy travelers in the audience that had any thoughts on their experience, if they're maybe considering coming to this, or just how that trip went for them. But also no worries if you don't want to come off mute. All right, we won't call anybody, make anybody come off mute.
Larry said he took over 1,000 pictures one day. Yes, isn't that the case?
Oh, that's absolutely. All right. Well, again, very photo. In addition to, I mean, that's good. You got to have something to do when I need something to do with my hands when I'm not just wanting to be eating and drinking the whole time. But thank you everyone for coming. Again, we will make sure that we get communication out to the group. With the instructions and the link to the recording if you want to share it with any other friends and family. And we hope to see everyone in Spain.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Muchas gracias.